There are women who walk through life carrying storms inside them, women who feel unseen, unheard, and unvalued. But being who love does not mean being unworthy. Sometimes it means you were born to rise in a way the world wasn't prepared for. This message is for every woman who has ever felt invisible. Your power begins the moment you decide that being unloved will never again mean being unliving. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that waiting for someone to love her is like waiting for a door to open in a house that was never built for her. And it's in that moment, when the silence gets too loud, when the loneliness stings a little deeper, when the world seems to be moving forward without her, that a powerful truth rises inside her. She can become her own source, not because she wants to, but because she must. Because relying on others to give her what they never gave only keeps her trapped in a cycle of disappointment. Because searching for validation in people who don't understand her only delays the life she was meant to create. There is a unique kind of fire that is born in a woman who feels unloved. At first, it looks like pain, but with time, it becomes fuel. She starts to see that the lack of love from others has nothing to do with her worth. Sometimes people simply can't give what they never learned. Sometimes they can't appreciate what they've never seen. Sometimes they don't recognize value because they've never valued themselves. And sometimes the world underestimates her because it has no idea what she carries inside. But she knows, deep inside she feels something awakening, a voice that says, if no one chooses you, choose yourself. If no one supports you, support yourself. If no one believes in you, believe in yourself. This is where her transformation begins. When she stops chasing love and starts building it from within, she becomes unstoppable. She starts pouring into herself the affection she once begged for. She stops waiting for good moments and starts creating them. She stops apologizing for her needs and starts honoring them. She becomes the kind of woman who walks into a room not hoping to be seen, but knowing she is complete even if nobody looks her way. And with this newfound energy, she rises in ways she never imagined. She becomes more intentional with her time, more protective of her peace, more selective with the people she allows close. She realizes that being alone is not a punishment. It is an invitation to rebuild, rediscover, and recreate her life with her own hands. An invitation to heal without rushing. An invitation to understand herself deeply, learn her own patterns, and step into a version of herself she once believed she wasn't allowed to be. What most people never understand is that when a woman learns to love herself after feeling unloved by the world, she becomes emotionally bulletproof. She no longer collapses under rejection because she knows that rejection often has more to do with others' limitations than her own value. She no longer chases after people who walk away because she knows anyone who leaves simply makes more space for what's truly meant for her. She no longer hides her emotions because she realizes her depth is a gift, not a burden. This shift is powerful. When a woman becomes her own source, she stops surviving and starts living. She stops dimming her light to make others comfortable and starts shining so brightly that her presence transforms any space she enters. And eventually, life reflects the transformation back to her. Opportunities appear. Peace finds her. Genuine connections come. Love, real love, flows toward her not because she needed it, but because she became aligned with it. The unloved woman becomes the unstoppable woman the moment she decides that the absence of love from others will never again define her. She becomes the fire she once waited for. She becomes her own source. There is a certain strength that only grows in a woman who has walked through life feeling forgotten, dismissed, or overlooked. It is a strength that doesn't come from comfort or praise, but from surviving moments that would have broken others. When a woman feels unloved, she learns to hold herself together in ways most people never see. She learns to breathe through pain, to calm storms inside her mind, to silence doubts that whisper she is not enough. And because she has endured so much in silence, she carries a depth that others cannot understand. While many crumble when life gets hard, she stands. Not because she feels powerful all the time, but because she has trained herself through every heartbreak, every lonely night, and every disappointment to keep moving. She has faced emotional battles without anyone checking on her. She has cried quietly so she wouldn't be a burden. She has rebuilt herself again and again without applause, without support, without someone holding her hand. And standing in that quiet strength is what makes her extraordinary. People often assume strong women were born that way, but that's rarely true. Most strong women were shaped by experiences that left scars. They learned resilience not because they wanted to, but because life forced them to. They had to navigate relationships that drained them, dreams that collapsed, trust that was broken, and endings that left them questioning their worth. And yet they rose every time, even when they didn't want to, even when it felt impossible, even when the world gave them every reason to give up. From these experiences comes a kind of wisdom that cannot be taught. She learns to read people's intentions. She becomes sharper, more intuitive, more aware. Her heart becomes kinder, but her boundaries become stronger. She no longer gives unlimited chances. She no longer allows others to drain her energy. She no longer sacrifices her peace just to keep someone close. She becomes selective with who she allows into her life, not out of fear, but out of clarity. What others see as her toughness is actually her healing. What others see as her silence is actually her wisdom. What others see as her independence is actually her survival. She becomes a woman who no longer needs constant reassurance because she has learned to trust herself. She becomes a woman who no longer fears losing people because she has learned she can survive without anyone. She becomes a woman who no longer begs for love because she knows she can create a meaningful life on her own. And eventually, something incredible happens. The same world that once dismissed her begins to depend on her. People come to her for advice, for comfort, for support, for strength. They see her as the stable one, the wise one, the grounded one. They admire her resilience, but never fully understand the battles she fought to build it. They see her confidence, but not the tears she cried to find it. They see her calmness, but not the chaos she had to overcome to achieve it. This is the paradox of the unloved woman. The world once ignored her, and now it cannot function without her presence. The strength she built in the dark becomes the light others follow. The pain she endured becomes the power she carries. And the resilience she earned becomes the foundation of a life she chooses on her own terms. She becomes unshakable, not because she was never hurt, because she learned to rebuild herself every single time. That is the kind of strength that cannot be explained, only lived. There comes a moment in a woman's life when she finally understands that she was never truly unloved. She was simply surrounded by people who were never capable of seeing her value. For so long, she may have questioned herself. She may have wondered why her love wasn't enough, why her loyalty wasn't appreciated, why her efforts went unnoticed, or why her heart was treated like it was something ordinary. But the truth is far deeper. Not everyone has the emotional depth to understand a woman with a powerful spirit. Not everyone has the maturity to handle her honesty, her intensity, or the way she feels everything so deeply. Sometimes it isn't that she was unworthy of love. It's that she was placed in environments that weren't aligned with the kind of soul she carries. When this realization hits, everything shifts. She begins to see that she wasn't rejected, she was protected. Protected from settling in spaces too small for her potential. Protected from giving her heart to people who couldn't care for it. Protected from wasting her love on those who would have drained it dry. She understands that the universe will sometimes remove her from circles where she doesn't belong, because her purpose is far greater than the comfort she was clinging to. The moment she recognizes this truth, she stops asking, "What was wrong with me?" and starts asking, "What was too right about me for the wrong people?" This change in perspective becomes the beginning of her liberation. She stops trying to shrink herself to fit into places where her soul suffocates. She stops trying to soften her voice to avoid intimidating people who fear her strength. She stops dimming her light to make others comfortable in their darkness. She realizes that her depth, her empathy, her passion, and her intuition are not flaws, they are gifts. Gifts that not everyone can handle, but the right people will treasure. As she embraces this truth, she becomes more intentional with her energy. She no longer stays where her presence is tolerated, she moves where her existence is valued. She no longer pours endlessly into one-sided situations. She saves that energy for people who pour back. She no longer seeks validation outside, she begins to validate herself. She starts choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and alignment over attachment. And with this inner shift, she starts attracting a different kind of life. A life that reflects her worth instead of questioning it. A life filled with people who understand her heart instead of mishandling it. A life where love is not forced or begged for, but naturally drawn toward her. This love may come from friendships, opportunities, family, or a partner, but it comes because she finally aligned with who she truly is instead of trying to fit into the expectations of those who were never meant to stay. What once felt like loneliness begins to feel like awakening. What once felt like rejection becomes redirection. What once felt like being unloved transforms into the understanding that she was always meant for something greater. She realizes that love was never missing, it was simply not in the places she was looking. And when she fully steps into this truth, she becomes unstoppable. She moves differently. She loves differently. She expects differently. She no longer allows her worth to be decided by others. She becomes a woman who finally knows who she is. And because of that, she attracts people and experiences that match her spirit. The unloved woman discovers that she was never unloved at all. She was simply evolving into a version of herself that the wrong people were never meant to recognize. Now she stands in her power, ready for the world that was always meant for her.